Hey folks, Adam Velasquez here with another Adirondack Bowhunters ProStaff Tip of the Week. In this week's episode, I'm going to be discussing trail cameras and how you can use them to help pattern the different game species in your hunting area. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another Adirondack Bowhunters ProStaff Tip of the Week. As I mentioned before, we're going to be talking about trail cameras today. And one of the subjects that I really want to touch on is, how great of a tool these really are when it comes to, wanting to pattern, see what kind of animals you have in your area, if you're patterning deer or turkeys or looking for predators, just coyotes and bobcats. These are really great tools to use. They have a very low impact on your hunting area, rather than walking around and spreading your scent all over the place or bumping deer. You're setting this trail camera and you're leaving it for extended periods of time. I know some people that'll check a trail camera on a weekly basis. I know other people who will wait a couple months before they go in and check their trail cameras. I think it all really depends on what you're trying to get out of it. But nowadays you can pick up trail cameras. I got this trail camera here for under $100. The other trail cameras that I use are all, relatively inexpensive. To me, what you spend on the trail camera really has more to do with what you're looking to get out of it. I use my trail cameras for the most part strictly for, patterning deer, looking at the health of my herd, patterning turkeys and things like that. I'm not really out there to get the highest quality image. What does matter to me is things like trigger speed, the size, the battery life of the camera, and whether or not it's going to last for an extended period of time, or if it's just going to break. So, do your research, go online, look at the reviews, try to find out, what camera is best for your budget. In the end, they all pretty much do the same thing. So, with that being said, I'd like to talk a little bit about the different uses for the trail cameras. Most people, associate trail cameras with patterning deer movement, and that's true, and that's great. But you'll also find that a lot of people will only run their trail cameras, a couple months prior to the season, and maybe a little bit after the season to see if any of the deer that they were hunting, survived and are around. I'm the person that I run my trail cameras all year. There's a couple reasons for doing that. One is I find that it's extremely beneficial to know, how the deer are doing on your property. You can set these up over food plots, or you can set them up in major travel corridors, wherever you feel is the best area to get the footage that you want. But this helps me keep tabs on my herd. It gives me an idea of my buck-to-doe ratio. It gives me a better idea of, what the deer are doing in a specific spot, when they're coming out, how they're behaving, how they're acting, the way that their movements change from, season to season or even month to month. It's a really big benefit. And, it's also a lot of fun to come out here and see what you got on film. It kind of breaks up the off season a little bit. So with that being said, I'm out here today. It's a few weeks before the May turkey season here in New York, and what I'm going to be doing is placing this trail camera out on a field that I have where we've spotted some strutting toms in the last couple of days with some hens. And there's a lot of different ways you can use your cameras. This camera, this model specifically, allows you to take picture, video with sound, and also they have something called plot watch mode. And what that does is it allows you to set your camera up to take pictures every few minutes or every minute, however you want to set it up, during specific hours of the day. So you know that if you're going to have peak movement in an area, for example a food plot, you can set your trail camera to watch the food plot during those high traffic hours and take a picture. It's basically like time lapse. It's going to take a picture every minute of that food plot. So you don't exactly have to have an animal trigger the camera for you. It's going to take pictures. And for patterning turkeys, I think that that's the most beneficial way to use a trail camera, because as you may know, it's very difficult to get a turkey on trail camera, basically because they don't always use the same travel corridors like deer do. They don't have trails. They basically will just kind of meander along, and something may grab their attention, they'll wander off in that direction. One thing that they always do this time of year is they go out into the fields and they strut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this camera up on time-lapse mode to watch my fields in the first hour or two of daylight and the first hour or two before it gets dark. And what that's going to do is allow me to keep a good idea. I'm going to be able to know if those turkeys are coming into that field from a long distance away, and it's really, really beneficial to be able to do something like that. So that's what we're here to talk about today. Now, I know I just went over some of the basic things that you can do with your trail camera when you're scouting for turkeys. I basically do the same thing every time when I'm scouting for turkeys. There's no real rhyme or reason other than just making sure that I'm patterning them, the best way that I possibly can. One thing that I feel is an important topic, and this is I feel a pretty great tip when it comes to using trail cameras for scouting deer. When you're scouting deer with using trail cameras, a lot of people, they'll come out, they'll set the trail camera up, maybe 2-3 feet off the ground. They won't worry about concealment, they won't worry about scent, and they'll just put it there, usually watching a trail parallel to. So when you get a picture of a deer, you're going to get that picture of that deer broadside. I'm not a fan of that, and I'll explain that to you a little bit more in detail here. Basically, I find that, with trail cameras nowadays, they have excellent trigger speeds, but it doesn't negate the fact that sometimes deer move through an area quicker than they will if they're just walking. And sometimes those trigger speeds are not enough, and you'll end up with just the back half of the deer in your frame when you're checking your pictures. So what I like to do is I'll find a trail that runs to and from where my trail camera is placed. The reason I like to do that is because if the deer is walking past the tree or coming at the tree, it's still going to trigger the motion on the camera. You're still going to get a picture, but you're going to get that entire deer in your frame because it's not moving across, it's moving away and towards, which gives you plenty of time to capture that deer, even if you have a slower trigger speed camera. One of the other important things that I feel is necessary to talk about is, most people will just grab their trail camera, default out of the box, and normally, that's picture mode and 24-hour, and to me, that isn't really going to capture enough. You'll get an idea of when the deer are moving through, you'll get an idea of this or that, but when you're trying to look at bucks, for example, if you're managing a piece of property and you want to know the size of the deer, the size of the buck, the age, what he's got on his head, it's especially when you're dealing with mature bucks, I think it's really important to take these extra steps to make sure that you're not muddying up your area, with your scent, and just by walking through and bumping them if they're if that's a core area to that deer, you got to be more careful. So one thing that I like to do, and I'm just going to pan my camera up here so you can see, is I like to put my trail camera up much higher than what other people would expect. All right, I'm going to place this trail camera up about 7 feet. If I was here to try to pattern deer. And I'm also going to put it on video mode. And the reason that I do that, I'm going to show you a couple examples here of where I got pictures of deer in a food plot and the difference between the picture and the video. And a lot of the times what you'll find is that there's a delay on your cameras of 30 seconds, sometimes more. And so it takes that first picture of the first animal that walks through. But if they're going through at a quicker speed, what you'll find is that you're going to miss a lot of action. You may even miss the buck that's behind that doe or the buck that's in the same group as those deer that are walking through, because your camera is going to take 30 seconds, 45 seconds, a minute before it takes another picture. So I'll put it on video mode for 30 seconds, and what that does is it captures it. The first deer will trigger it, and then you have 30 seconds of audio and video of anything else that's going to happen during that time frame in front of your camera. And what I found by doing that is that, you know, a lot of people may argue this point, but mature bucks will shy away from trail cameras. I've seen it firsthand. It's something that I feel very strongly about. So and there's a lot of studies out there too. You can go and you can YouTube it. You can go on Google. You can find other videos relating to the same topic that are even more in depth. But you know, for the sake of time, what I would like to do is I'll hang that trail camera and I'll angle it down from about 7 feet. So you're accomplishing two things here. The first thing that you're accomplishing is you're getting it out of the direct line of sight of that deer. You're also getting it up so that if they were to come up and sniff that camera, if it's more, you know, waist level, they're going to get your scent off it. Even if you're taking precautions, even if you're, you know, wearing gloves and spraying the camera down, you know, they're still going to smell you. It's still a foreign object to them out here in the woods. So that can spook a deer, and that can actually cause deer to stop moving through that area. I've seen it happen. I know that it's more common than most people think. So by hanging it up high and setting it on video mode, you're eliminating a lot of the possibilities of missing a shot, missing a good picture of the deer that you're looking for. So keep those things in mind when you're hanging your trail cameras this season, and I bet that you'll see better results. Okay folks, well that just about sums it up. I've just finished placing my last camera. My placement here is on one of our lower cornfields. It's a small thin strip, but I've noticed a lot of turkey sign here, and it's still really wet ground from the thaw. So you can easily see the turkey tracks here, and there's quite a few. So I got the trail camera set up. I'm going to come back here in a week or two and see what we've got. I've got other trail cameras placed on the other fields that we have up above, and we'll see what we can get. So thanks for watching, and we hope to see you again on another episode of the Adirondack Bowhunters ProStaff Tip of the Week.